Hello students, we will start with the third module now, that is embedded system components. So in this third module we will divide that in two parts, that is part A and part B. The part A covers two PPTs which are provided in the Google Classroom. You can go through that. That is module 3.1 and 3.2 are the PPTs for part A of the module 3, and part B covers the module 3.3 PPT. So now we'll start with the module 3 part A, that is embedded system components. You can see here, this is the index part. So here we are going to study all these 6 points in one go. That is, what is an embedded system? We have seen that in the module 1 itself, and embedded versus general computing system we are going to see, history of embedded systems, classification of embedded systems. Depending on different categories we are going to classify the embedded systems here, and major application areas of the embedded systems we are going to see, and purpose of embedded systems. Now let us start with the first point, that is, what is an embedded system? So as I mentioned earlier, we have seen the what do you mean by embedded system in the module 1 itself. So embedded system is a device which is used to perform a specific operation, or it is used for specific application only. So you can see here we have mentioned it is an electronic or electromechanical system designed to perform a specific function. So all the embedded systems what we are going to see now onwards, they are designed to perform a specific function. That's why you call it as a application specific devices. We call embedded systems as application specific devices. And you can see here it is a combination of both hardware as well as firmware, or we can call it as a software also. So if you take any embedded systems, it consists of both hardware as well as a firmware or software part. Now since every embedded system is a unique, both hardware as well as firmware are specialized to application specific. So if you take any embedded systems, each embedded system has a different hardware part, and depending on the application we have a different software part for that also. So if you consider an example of refrigerator and washing machine, that is refrigerator and washing machine. So for refrigerator we need different hardware, and similarly for washing machine also we need some different hardware. Similarly, the working of the refrigerator is different and working of the washing machine is also different. So both the hardware and hardware requirement for both these embedded systems are different. That's why we have mentioned here, since every embedded system is unique, both hardware as well as firmware are specialized to application specific. Fine. Now nowadays embedded system application includes all these are the application areas of the embedded system. You can see, that is household appliances. You can see many household appliances are which you are using are the embedded systems. So in previous classes I have mentioned that on average a person may be using 8 to 10 embedded systems in his daily life. So you can check for that. And telecommunications include the embedded systems, medical equipments what you are going to see in the hospitals, industrial controls, and consumer products, they all come under the embedded systems only. Okay, now we'll move to the next point, that is embedded versus general computing system. So here we are going to differentiate between embedded and general computing system by taking two examples. So I am taking here for general computing system I am taking your PC or laptop as an example, and for embedded system I am taking a CVD or DVD player as an example. So let us differentiate both by taking an example. Now consider a general computing system, that is your PC or laptop. So it may be having any of the configuration. So I am considering here Intel Core i3 processor and designed to support multiple set of peripherals. Peripherals means it is going to it is compatible for the many external devices like 3 USB 2.0 ports, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Ethernet, HDMI, etc. with additional interfaces like optical CD, DVD, read writer, and onboard hard disk drive with 3 GB of RAM. Okay, so this is the specification I am going to this is the specification for the PC which I am considering here. For every PC you may have some different hardware configurations, and according to your requirement you may choose the different operating systems also. So the different operating systems available for your PC, it may be like Windows XP, or you may prefer Windows 7, 8, 10, and nowadays you can see a 10.1 also, or Red Hat Linux is there. Linux based embedded systems are also Linux based operating systems are also there. Ubuntu, Unix, these are all the operating system which are supported for your PC. So according to your requirement you may choose any one of these for the operation of any one of these as the operating system for your PC according to your requirement. And what you can do with this, computer or PC or laptop, so you can perform n number of applications with that computer. Applications ranging from, consider if you have installed with the Microsoft Office, so what you can do, you can create an Excel sheet, you can create a Word document. Okay, you can print or scan documents by connecting a printer or scanner to your computer. And what you can do, you can copy the same file to the CD or DVD writer, and you can copy the same file to hard disk drive, and you can transfer that file from hard disk to an USB device, etc. This is considering only MS Office printer scanner. This is the operation I am going to explain. So it is performing n number of operations by considering only MS Office application. This is all we are going to perform with the PC. Okay, it may perform any other operations also, but since we are considering a MS Office applications, it is going to perform all these operations. Now let us consider a CD or DVD read writer. So what is the basic operation of this CD or DVD writer? So in PC or computer I have considered it as a general computing system. Here I am considering CD and DVD as an embedded system because it is what is the specific operation it is performing. You can play an audio file or you can play a video file using that DVD or CD player. Other than that, what else you can do? You can see the question here. You can see here, can we use this DVD player to make you take print out Word documents? No, you cannot. Or can we change the functionality of this DVD player? Once again, no, because once the embedded system is manufactured, you cannot change the functionality of that embedded system by the end user. Who are the end users? the customers, or we are the end users here, and you cannot change the functionality of that. Now there is one more question: can we change the operating system of this player? Again, it's no. You cannot change the operating system of that CD player or DVD player. Other than playing audio and video, it cannot perform any other operations, isn't it? You can play an audio, you can play an video, or you can perform operations related to audio video only, but you cannot perform any other operations like what you can perform with the general computing system, that is a normal computer or laptop. Okay, now we'll see the difference between general computing system and, we can see here, now we can see the difference between general computing system and embedded systems. So if you take any general computing system, it is a combination of general purpose hardware as well as a general purpose operating system for executing variety of applications. So you can perform n number of applications or n number of operations with the help of general purpose computing system, but you cannot perform the same with the embedded systems. So embedded systems, as I have mentioned earlier, it performs a specific operation and it is designed for the specific application only. You can see here it is a combination of special purpose hardware and embedded OS for executing specific set of application. You can see here specific set of application. Now we can see, we can take the second part. It contains, second one, it contains a general purpose operating system. So if you take any general computing system, it contains a general purpose operating system. So whatever the operating systems which you are using in your laptops, they all belong to the general purpose operating systems only. And in embedded system part, it may or may not contain an operating system for its functioning. So in upcoming sessions we will see that, or in upcoming slides only we will see the different categories of embedded systems there. You can find that small scale embedded systems, medium scale and large scale, and depending upon the embedded system type, we are going with whether we are going to use the operating system or not, you can see there. So it may not contain operating system for its functioning here. So that is, in small scale embedded system, you don't require any operating system part. You can consider an electronic toy. So it does not require any operating system for its functioning. So that's why they have mentioned here. And the third one, applications can be altered, or you can see a reprogrammed or reprogrammable by the user. So whatever the applications you are performing, you are doing or developing on general computing systems, you can reprogram that or you can alter it anytime by the user. You are the user here. But in embedded systems, that is, firmware of embedded system is pre-programmed during the manufacturing only, and it cannot be altered by the end user. That's why I have told, once the embedded device is manufactured, you cannot change the functionality. That's why you cannot change the firmware part here. You cannot change the firmware part. Okay. Now the fourth one, performance is a key factor. If you take any general computing system, we'll take performance as a key factor there. That is faster system is considered as a better system here. Faster is considered better in general computing system, but in embedded system, application specific requirements are the deciding factors. The performance is not a key factor in embedded systems. That is what we are going to see here. Next, fifth one, not all the or less systems considered are reduced power oriented, or simply we can say the power consumption is more here since it has a general purpose hardware, and since it is using general purpose operating systems, and the number of instruction sets are also more here compared to the embedded systems. So since the number of instruction sets are more, so it is consuming it is taking more power to execute that instructions. So in that way you can consider the power consumption is more here, but in embedded systems the power consumption is less because of the reduced instruction sets. If you take any embedded systems, most of the embedded systems are RISC based, that is reduced instruction set computers based. So that's why it may consume less power compared to the general computing systems, and that is the biggest advantage of the embedded system compared to the general computing system, and that's why we have a power saving modes available here. You can see, and that's why we have a power saving modes available in the embedded systems. And one more thing is, response requirements are not time critical. If you take any general computing system, so the response requirements are not that time critical, and in embedded systems, for certain category of embedded systems, response time requirement is highly critical. We have mentioned a air traffic control system as an example, so the response time is very critical there. So if you consider that embedded systems, so response time is time critical there. And last one, need not be deterministic in execution behavior. So the general computing system, it need not be deterministic in execution behavior. Similarly, for embedded systems, for hard real-time system, execution behavior must be deterministic. So for hard real-time systems, the execution behavior must be deterministic. Okay. So the meaning of deterministic here is, you can what we can say, the present behavior is only dependent on what happened in the past. So if it is like that, then we say it as the embedded system as a deterministic. If it is not, then it is a non-deterministic. It is executing a not deterministic behavior. Okay. Now we'll see the history of embedded systems. So the first embedded system was developed by MIT Instrumentation Laboratory. You can see here, the MIT Instrumentation Laboratory, for the Lunar Expedition project. So there was a project, Lunar Expedition project. For that they have developed an embedded system. So that computer name is called as Apollo Guidance Computer, AGC. So this is the modern computer, it is AGC, developed by MIT Instrumentation Laboratory for the Lunar Expedition project. So the first MIT's original design was based on 4K words, that is 4096 words of fixed RAM and 2K words of a erasable RAM. So initially they have developed this one, and after that the final configuration was 36 kilovolts. Initially it was a 42 4k watts. Now finally they have developed a computer with 36 kilovolts of fixed RAM, okay, and again a 2k watts of erasable RAM, which runs on a clock frequency of 1.024 megahertz. You can see here 1.024 megahertz frequency. So meaning of that one is, so frequency is in clock frequency is in terms of megahertz. So this computer can work with the or to execute any instruction. It may take few microseconds for the execution. So meaning of that one is, it may take few microseconds to execute any one instruction, okay. Now, and with the same computer, the design has used around 5000 ICs, that is integrated ICs were used for designing this computer. And the first mass produced means they have produced it in the bulk embedded system was the guidance computer for Minuteman I missile. So this is the different this computer was used for a different application, that is Minute 1 missile in the 1961. So this is the history of the embedded systems. Now we are going to see the classification of embedded systems. So here we are going to classify embedded systems depending on these 4 criteria, that is based on generation, embedded systems based on complexity and performance requirement, or it may be based on deterministic behavior, or it may be based on triggering. But for your syllabus we have only these 2, that is classification based on the generation and classification based on complexity and performance requirement, okay. Now we'll see the first one, that is classification based on generation. So depending on the classification based on generation, we are going to classify embedded systems into 4 categories, that is first generation, second generation, third and fourth generation. You can see here this classification is based on the evolution of embedded processing. You can see the classification is based on the evolution of embedded processing from first version. You can see here from first version to where we are today. So starting from the AGC, what you have discussed, from there to whatever the embedded systems what we are using it today, or they are developing it today, from till now we are going to see the classification, and that is, we'll see here the first one, classification based on generation, that is first generation embedded systems. So these embedded systems were built with 8-bit microprocessor, 8-bit, I will write microprocessor as MUP, 8-bit microprocessor and 4-bit microcontrollers, I will write it as a MUC. So these first generation were built with 8-bit microprocessor like 8085. So 8085 was a famous microprocessor. till now. It is a famous microprocessor and 4-bit microcontrollers. And here the hardware circuit is simple and firmware is developed in assembly code. So here the hardware circuit is simple because since we are in the evolution part, the hardware circuit is simple here, and the firmware or the software part is developed in assembly code. So what is this assembly code? So whatever the lab programs you are performing in the Keil Microvision, so that code what you are writing, that is a assembly code. So in part B of the lab programs we are going to see this one, the stepper motor application in part B, and we are going to see the keypad applications. Here they have mentioned digital telephone keypads, but we will see the keypad interface in the part B and stepper motors. So the meaning of this one is, in your part B of the lab programs we are going to see the first generation, or we are going to program the first generation embedded systems like stepper motors, DC motor and digital telephone keypads and etc. Okay, so this is about the first generation. Now we'll see the second generation. So in this second generation, here you can see the embedded systems are built with 16-bit microprocessor and 8 or 16-bit microcontroller, that is 16-bit microprocessor and 8 or 16-bit microcontroller. So in previous case it was developed with the help of 8-bit microprocessor or 4-bit microcontroller. So in this case, since it is a second generation, there is a evolution taken place from 8-bit to 16-bit microprocessor. That's why we are using 16-bit microprocessor or 8 or 16-bit microcontrollers here. And the instruction set for embedded processing is complex compared to the first generation embedded systems. So since the evolution taken place in microprocessors and microcontrollers also, the instruction set of that is increased now. That's why it is complex compared to the first generation. That's why we can see here, and more powerful than the first generation embedded systems. Fine. Now, and some embedded system contain operating system for their operations, and some of the embedded systems like SCADA systems and data acquisition systems, which are used in the mainly in the industries, and they can be in those applications or in those embedded systems we need an operating system to run those. So it does not mean that all the second generation embedded systems need an operating system for its operation, but few of them need an operating system for the operation of that embedded system. Okay, now we'll see the third generation embedded systems. Third generation, here in previous both the cases, that is first and second, it was developed using 8-bit microprocessor or 16-bit microprocessor or 8 or 16-bit microcontrollers. We have developed those embedded systems, and here in third generation embedded systems are built around 32-bit microprocessor, you can see here, or 16-bit microcontroller, that is 32-bit microprocessors they use, and 16-bit microcontrollers they use. 16-bit microcontrollers they use in the third generation embedded systems. And in this generation, concept of, you can see here, this is very important, concept of specific, that is application specific processors, controllers like DSP, that is digital signal processors, and application specific ICs are evolved. So in the third generation only the more evolution taken place here. They have the processors also evolved from 16 to 32 bit. Along with that there is a concept of application specific ICs came into action, and after that you can see the controllers like DSPs, that is digital signal processor, and application specific ICs are evolved in the third generation only. And dedicated embedded real-time and general purpose operating systems entered into market here. So in second generation the operating system was not compulsory there. So some of the second generation embedded systems it may not need an operating system to run the embedded system, and some of them require an operating system. But in third generation all these third generation embedded systems are working on embedded operating systems. That's why there is a dedicated real-time and general purpose operating system entered into market. That is embedded real-time and general purpose operating system entered into market during the evolution of these third generation embedded systems. And along with that you can see what are the wide areas of the application. So you can see the robotics, networking, industry process control, and media, and many other applications will be there. So these are the application areas. If you take the example, your basic mobile phone or cell phone which is having a keypad, that can be an example of or you can also consider a multimedia mobile. So multimedia mobiles and cell phones, you can consider it as a third generation embedded systems. You can consider refrigerators, you can consider washing machine, etc. So these are the examples of third generation embedded systems. And last one is fourth generation embedded system. So here they are built around 64-bit microprocessor and 32-bit microcontroller. That is, they may be built with the help of 64-bit microprocessor or 32-bit microcontrollers they have used. And the most important one is this one, the concept of SoC, that is system on chip. So on one chip you have embedded all the functionality here. So that is the meaning of system on chip. And multi-core processors, you have heard this, you may heard the dual core processors, quad core processors. So they are all the multi-core processors. So they are evolved in this fourth generation, and these embedded systems make use of high performance real-time operating systems for their functioning. So in third generation they have developed the operating system there, that is new operating system for the embedded system. Here they have developed high performance real-time operating system for their functioning. And you can consider smartphone as an example of the fourth generation embedded system, iPads and smart home appliances, etc. They all come under the fourth generation embedded systems. So the evolution taken place from first generation, that is 8-bit microprocessor or 4-bit microcontroller, to the 64-bit microprocessor and 32-bit microcontroller. So this is the classification based on generation. Now we will start with the classification based on complexity and performance. So now here we have divided the embedded systems into three types, that is small scale embedded systems, medium scale, and large scale or complex embedded systems. So we'll start with the small scale embedded systems here. So here embedded systems are simple in application need and performance is not time critical. So this is very important. They are simple in the design part or in application part. They are very simple and the performance is not time critical. And you can see here they are built around low performance, low cost 8 or 16-bit microprocessor or microcontroller. So they are simple in design and the performance is not time critical, and they are built around 8 or 16-bit, that is low cost 8 or 16-bit microprocessor or controllers. You can consider electronic toys as an example of the small scale embedded system, or you may consider electronic trimmer machine as one more example, and you may consider electronic hair dryer. That is also an example of a small scale embedded system. There are many examples are there, you can go through that. So these are the three examples: electronic toys, trimming machine, and hair dryer. You can consider these three as the examples. Okay, and now we'll see the medium scale embedded systems. So here it is slightly complex in hardware and firmware requirement. So in previous case the design is simple there and performance is not time critical, but here it is slightly complex compared to the small scale embedded systems in terms of hardware and firmware requirement. And you can see these are built around medium performance and low cost. So in previous case they are built around low performance and low cost. Here they have built these medium scale embedded systems on medium performance and low cost 16 or 32-bit microprocessor or microcontroller, and they usually contain an operating system. Usually they contain operating system. So industrial machines, or in previous case we have said that the SCADA systems or industrial systems, so they all come under the examples. SCADA systems is a best example for this. Okay, now consider the large scale or complex embedded systems. So here they involve highly complex hardware and firmware. So this is the hardware part is getting complex from small scale to medium scale to large scale. You can see here, that's why the name complex embedded systems also for this. And they are built around 32 or 64-bit RISC processor. That is, what are the RISC processor? That is reduced instruction set computer, meaning of RISC is. And or they may be built around the PLDs. What are those? Programmable logic devices. Or they may be built around the multi-core processors. Okay, and here the response time is time critical, hence usually contain high performance real time operating system for its operation. So usually we need a high performance real time operating system for its operation here. Okay, and you can consider an example of air traffic control system. So that is, whenever all the mission critical applications fall under this category, all mission critical applications. What do you mean by mission critical means? So we have one task to perform in some time limit, or there is a deadline is there, so you have to perform that task in that deadline. So that what we call it as a mission. So whenever there are mission critical applications, so they come under this complex embedded system category. And you can consider an example of air traffic control system. Okay, so this is the classification based on complexity and performance. So we have seen the classification based on generation and classification based on complexity and performance requirement. Now we'll see the major applications areas of embedded systems here. So what are the major application areas of embedded systems? There may be n number of application areas of the embedded system. They fall under the following domains we have mentioned here. That is few of the important domains only we have listed. So that is first one is consumer electronics. So we all are consumers only. So whatever the electronics you are going to use in day-to-day lives, they all come under the consumer electronics only. So you can consider a digital camera, DVD players, radio receivers, video recorders, etc. They all come under the consumer electronics only. Okay, next one is household appliances like refrigerators, washing machines, TV, microwave ovens, etc. all they come under the household appliances. Next one is home automation and security systems. So if you consider the air conditioner, so what it is performing, it is that is automatic AC or air conditioners. So it is continuously taking inputs from the environment. If there is any sudden or if there are any temperature changes, the AC is going to adjust itself to keep the room temperature steady or constant. So for that you need an automation part. So that your air conditioner is an example of that home automation system. And fire alarms and sprinklers, smartphone security systems, they all are the examples of home automation and security systems. Security systems means you may take an example of CCTV surveillance systems. So that is an best example of a security system. So they all come under this domain. Now fourth one is automotive industry. So here anti-lock braking system, many of you may have heard this ABS system is deployed with the your cars or vehicle. So and engine control also, and ignition system and automatic navigation systems. So all these automotive sectors in all these automotive industry. So these are the parts of this your vehicle: engine control, ignition system, automatic navigation system. In all these we are going to use the embedded systems, including ABS, that is anti-lock braking systems. So in automation industry also they are using nowadays full-fledged embedded system for the for making a better product. Okay, and we'll see in telecom industry also, that is basic need of any telecom industry is a cell phones only, and or multimedia phones or smartphones. They all come under this category in telecom domain. And computer peripherals, whatever you are going to use, so like printers, scanners, speakers, fax machines, they all come under this category, computer peripheral. Peripheral means you are connecting it externally to the computer. So all these computer peripherals, there are many other computer peripherals also available. we can call it as a embedded systems only. Next is computer networking systems. So if you consider any computer networking system, the basic requirement of any computer networking system is a network routers, switches, hubs, firewalls, etc. So whatever these computer networking systems are there, even they come under the embedded systems only. They come under the category of the embedded systems only. And along with that, the healthcare or in medical electronics, we need whatever the electronics parts we are going to use in the medical, they all come under the embedded systems only. So that is different kinds of scanners are there, ECG machines are there, 3D echo machines, MRI scans, MRI machines, and many other machines are also available. So even they come under the embedded systems part. And next one is measurement and instrumentation. So here we are going to use the embedded system for the measurement and instrumentation purpose. So you can consider a digital multimeter. This one we have used in the analog and digital electronics laboratory. You can check that. And also we have used digital CROs and PLC systems. They all come under this domain, measurement and instrumentation domain. And one more important domain is banking and retails. That is ATM, whatever the ATM machines are there, and currency counters, again they are in the banks itself, and POS machines or point of sales machines. So if you order any item online and the delivery boys come with one machine, instead of cash on delivery you can pay him with the card itself. So that is nothing but a POS machine. Okay, so all these examples we can consider as a considered as embedded systems in banking and retail domain. And there are other sections of the embedded systems where we can use embedded systems as card readers, or we can see a barcode reader or smart card readers and handheld devices. You can see this barcode readers in any malls or any shopping malls. You can see that. And this smart card readers, you can, if you have gone through the metro services, you can see this smart card readers there. So just by reading that card only, it will deduct the amount, and it will deduct the amount there. In metro stations or in metros, they have used this smart card readers and handheld devices. All they come under the card readers domain. Okay, so these are the applications or the major application areas of embedded systems. These are not the applications, these are the applications areas. We have listed only few here. That is important only we have listed. There are n number of applications areas of embedded systems are available. Okay, now we'll see the purpose of embedded systems. So below I have mentioned some of the following tasks where the embedded systems are widely used. You can see here, embedded system is designed to serve the purpose of any one or combination of the following tasks. So you can use embedded system in any one of the task. You may use that in data collection or storage or representation task. You can use that in data communication task. You can use that in data or signal processing task, you can use that in monitoring, you can use that in control and application specific user interface. You can use the embedded systems in all these tasks, or you can use that in a combination. That is, you may use an embedded system in data collection, storage and representation along with the monitoring, or you may use data communication along with the signal processing. So like that, or you may take data communication along with signal processing, along with controlling, along with monitoring. You can use these tasks to we are using these tasks combinedly to serve the purpose. Okay, either we may be using any one of the specific task, or we may be using the combination of these tasks. Okay, now we'll see one by one. The first one is data collection or storage or representation. So better I will consider an example for this, that is a digital camera. So this is the example I am going to consider. So what we will do with that digital camera? So you can capture an image with this digital camera, and the captured image, once the image is captured, immediately that image is stored in the internal memory of the internal memory of that device, and that is comes under the storage. So capturing the image comes under data collection. You are capturing the image means you are capturing the data, so that is nothing but a data collection part. And immediately after taking a snap or capturing an image, that image is stored in the internal memory of that device or digital camera. That comes under storage part. And representation, and once the image is stored in the device, you can represent that image on the LCD display or LED display, or you can graphically represent on LCD or LED display, or you can generate a photocopy of that. So that comes under representation part. So better you take digital camera as the example. So you can capture that image, you can store that image, and you can represent graphically on LCD display, or you can take a printout of that. So that comes under the representation part. Okay, next one is data communication. So here the data can be either in the form of analog or digital. We know that the data which the embedded system may be receiving, either it may be in the form of analog or digital, and the data transmission can be achieved by wireless medium or wired medium. So data can be of two types, that is analog or digital, and the mode of transfer, that is data transmission, can be wired or wireless. So if you consider wired modules, what are the wired modules available? That is USB, TCP, ICP, etc. So the LAN cable what you can use, that is a TCP, ICP, and USB cables are the wired modules, and there are many wired modules available. And in wireless we can use Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee and GPRS. We are going to see all these wireless modules in the upcoming classes itself. Okay, so data communication can be of this type, either it may be analog or digital, or it may be in the form of wired mode or wireless mode. So these are the wireless modes and wire mode available. Okay, and for any data communication, what you need? We need a networking system that consists of this network hubs, routers, switches are the examples of dedicated data transmission embedded systems. So if you consider any networking system, these are the minimum requirements, that is network hubs, routers, switches are examples of the dedicated data transmission embedded systems. And these communication system can be deployed from complex satellite communication systems to simple home networking systems. So whatever the communication systems we are talking here, they may be categorized as a simple home networking systems also they include, and also they include the complex satellite communication systems. So it may be ranging from simple home networking systems to complex satellite communication systems. Okay, now we'll see the third task, that is data or signal processing. Once the data is collected by the embedded system, it is of type any one of the following type what I have mentioned here. Either it may be in the form of image, or it may be in the form of audio, video, voice and other electronic signals. So once we receive this, what we have to do, we need to process these data signals. So embedded device first captures the data or collects the data, and that data is in the form of, that may be in the form of image, audio, video, voice and other electronic signals. It may be in the form of other electronic signals, and that data is to be processed. And to process these signals, embedded systems are employed with various signal processing functionalities. To process these signals or this data, it is embedded systems are provided with various signal processing functionalities, or we may call it as a various data processing functionalities. You can consider a typical hearing aid for a hearing impaired person, that is the person who cannot listen any voice or any audio signals. We call him as a hearing impaired person. So to improve the hearing of that person, we need a hearing aid. So that is an example of one of the that is an example that comes under this data processing. So what it will do, so what this hearing aid will do, it will collect the voice signals from the environment or the surroundings. So this hearing aid will collect the voice signals or audio signals from the environment and surroundings and processes that data. And why it is processing? It is processing to improve the hearing capacity of that hearing impaired person. So it is collecting the data, or it is collecting the signals, voice signals or audio signals from the environment or surrounding. It processes that and it is improving the hearing capacity of that hearing impaired person. Okay, now we'll see the monitoring part. So here embedded systems designed under this category are typically designed for monitoring purposes and are mostly from medical domain. So in monitoring, they come under the medical domain. So whatever the embedded systems we are using here, they come under largely we are using that in medical domain. For the monitoring, you can see here, for the monitoring purpose we are using this, and you can take a typical example of ECG is a typical example of this type. And also you can see here some of the examples of embedded system with this type are digital CRO. We have seen that in the laboratory. We have seen the digital multimeter, again logic analyzer. They all are used in the electronics laboratories. So they come under the monitoring part. Okay, now we'll see the control part. So here in control functionalities of the embedded system impose or charge control over some variables according to changes in the input variable. So if you take any embedded system, if you and some embedded systems are used in the control part. So what that control part includes, that system with control functionality contains these main components: sensors and actuators. So what these sensors are doing, sensors are capturing the data from the environment and giving that data to the embedded system for, or it giving that to the controller for processing, giving that to the embedded system for processing. And what actuators is doing, actuators is taking the inputs from the embedded system, and it is providing that input to the peripheral device or external device connected to that system, that embedded system. So you can see here sensors are connected to the input port for capturing the changes in environmental changes, and the actuators connected to the output are controlled according to the changes in the input variable. If sensors find any input changes, so that input changes are recognized by the embedded system part, and that embedded system will give the actuators, it will provide signals to the actuator to control the output, So for that we need a actuators here. You can take a typical example as air conditioner system. So it is deployed with, it is having both sensors and actuators. So sensors will sense the temperature change in the room. If there is any temperature change in the room, then the main aim of the air conditioner system is to maintain a specific temperature, whatever may be the outside temperature or the temperature outside the room. So according to the, if there is a temperature raise from 26 to 27 or 28 degrees Celsius, and if you want to maintain your room temperature at 24 degrees Celsius, so the sensor will capture the change in temperature from 24 to 25 degrees Celsius in the outside environment. So it will capture that with the help of sensors, and it will provide that information or data to the embedded system, that is controlling system available with the AC, and it will process the data, and it will provide an information or data to the actuators to maintain a temperature of 24 degrees Celsius only. So this is how the air conditioner system is working. And last part is application specific user interface. So here, if you consider any application or any embedded application, you can see all these interfaces, buttons, you can see switches, keypads, lights, bells, display units, etc. So you may not see all these in one embedded system, but several embedded systems have, according to the application, they have used all these user interfaces. So if you consider a basic handset or mobile phone, or a microwave oven, refrigerator and washing machine as an example of this type, if you consider a mobile phone only, basic mobile handset, so here the user interface is provided through the keypad. So we have a keypad interface there. I'm not talking about the touchpad. There is a keypad interface there, and there is a system speaker. Why system speaker? Because once you receive, once you somebody calls you, how will you get alert? By the speaker only. Whenever there is a call, you can heard the ringtone of your mobile, so that you can respond to the call. So that can be an user interface. System speaker can be an user interface here. And vibration alerts. So once if you keep your mobile in vibration mode, even though there is a call, you can receive the call, to receive the whenever there is a call in the silent mode or vibration mode, the mobile just vibrates there, so that you can get alert that there is a call for you. So this is how we can say these are the interfaces, user interfaces for the mobile. And if you consider a microwave oven, here user interface is provided through the keypad, and there may be a display and alarm signal. If you want to cook something, so if you want to keep it for 40 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes, so what you have to do with the keypad, you have to set the time for 10 minutes for 40 degrees Celsius, so that you can make the changes, and you can accordingly, you can see that on the display. And after the 10 minutes of that cooking, you can receive an alarm signal from the oven that your whatever you are going to cook is hot now. So this is how the microwave oven works. So all these 6 are the purpose of embedded systems. So we may be using these in combination, or they may be using these in the separate task also. So these are the 6 purpose of embedded systems available. So this completes your module 3.1 PPT. In the next video we will see module 3.2 PPT. Okay, if you have any questions regarding this PPT, this 3.1 PPT, you can post the queries in the Google Classroom. Okay, I hope I hope all of you are understood this one. Okay, thank you. Stay safe all of you.